So I thought last spring in about April, May time, I decided I was going to go. My son lives with his mom about 3 hours from where I live, and I thought, it'd be a really good idea to go to my son's school for an afternoon and see what his school's about. Get an experience, go into an elementary school, and kind of feel what he's feeling, go through the experience he goes through, and see what it's like. So I made the drive down to the school he's at. And when I got there, there's this large, prison-like building. I had to go through like 2 layers of security, through all these different background checks and fingerprinting and strip searches and all that. By the time I got in, my son was really excited to see me in class. He's like, "Hey, Daddy, how's it going?" Come in, "Hey, Gunnar, how's it going?" I come over, sit down. Teacher gives me a little seat to sit way down in the lower levels. And I'm kind of just observing to see what's happening in the classroom, just to, be there and hang out with him for the day. And I thought he'd really appreciate it. As I'm observing, about a few minutes in, being here at this elementary school, the teacher all of a sudden says, "Up, bathroom time, everyone." Okay, so I see all the kids stand up on command. They'll go directly, and we go out in the hallway, and the boys line up in one line, the girls line up in one line, single file, no talking, no moving, no pushing, no touching, nothing. You just stand there quiet. Teacher says, "Okay, you see that door frame right there? I want everybody to march 10 feet down, stop at that door frame, and wait for me." So they all march down, stop at the door frame. And then she says, "Okay, see that next door frame? I want you to do this." And they did this all the way down the hallway to the bathrooms. They get down there, they stop, and then she starts releasing one child at a time, boys and girls, into the appropriate restrooms. They do their thing. They come back out, get a squirt of some hand sanitizer lotion. They go get back in line. In the back of the line, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is a little intense. And all of a sudden, I get jarred by this massive, this takes like 20 minutes, by the way, to get down this hallway, jarred by this massive bell ringing behind my left ear, a deafening bell ring. And another bell ring goes off. After that, I'm jumping. Kids are laughing a little bit, like, what's he all freaked out about? And all of a sudden, all the doors open up all the way down, and kids file in the hall with their teachers and teachers' aides. They line up, and they do this whole routine of walking segmented down the halls to go to the next classroom they're going to, because they're switching classes. I'm thinking, a thought struck me. I have seen The Shawshank Redemption. And I'm pretty sure that Stephen King must have spent some time in an elementary school as he's crafting this story of the Shawshank Redemption. It's very prison-like. It's like crazy. And I'm thinking this thought. I'm looking down the hall, watching the commotion, and I hear this noise from the teacher of my son's class. "What do you have? What do you have?" And I turn around, and she's right up against, say this is a 6-year-old girl, knees knocked, just like this, quivering. The teacher's right up against her with her hand out, right here under her chin, saying, "What do you have?" And she's going, "Ah!" She's like just ready to burst into tears. "I know you have it." I'm thinking, what does she have? I just came through like 3 security checks on the way in. Does she have like bombs strapped to her? Am I gonna get blown? Like, what is going on? And all of a sudden another teacher comes flying up right up against this 6-year-old. She's just like quivering, and she's like, "I know she has it. Spit it out, spit it out." And I'm thinking, what? Spits a piece of gum in the teacher's hand. Teacher takes tissue, wads it up, holds it, puts it in her pocket, whatever she does with it. And they're like, "What else do you have?" And she's like, "Ah!" And she's like crying by this point. All the other kids are looking at her. She's just crying. And I'm thinking, what is going to happen to this poor little girl, this little 6-year-old? And then a third teacher comes up. They're hovered around her, towering over this poor little 6-year-old, right? "Give me what you have in your, I know you've got in your pockets." And I'm thinking, what does she have in her pockets? Now I'm getting scared again. So she reaches in her pockets like this, and she pulls her pockets out like a 6-year-old would, knees knocked, terrified, looking up at the teachers, and they have her open her hands, and there's a Tootsie Roll in each hand. And the teacher's like, "See, I told you, give me that." She grabs the Tootsie Rolls out of her hand, and like, "Are you allowed to have gum in school?" "No, I'm not allowed to have gum in school." "Are you allowed to have Tootsie Rolls in school?" "No, I'm not allowed to have Tootsie Rolls in school." I'm thinking, what do I have on me? Holy crap. I'm gonna get killed here. Like, I'm thinking, like, I'm in real danger, right? So we figure all this out. This poor little girl's crying all the way back to the room. I'm looking at her, are the other kids like traumatized? They're all like, this is normal stuff. I'm like Tootsie Roll shakedowns in the middle of an elementary school. Seriously. We get in the classroom, and now it's spelling test time, right? So my son's sitting there, and all the other kids, they pull out their little papers and their pencils, and the sweat starts building up on their foreheads as the teacher calls out word after word, and they're trying to spell these words, and I can just see them like, oh God, it's gonna, like, they're just spelling out these words, and then the teacher gets to the end of whatever 8 or 10 words it is, and she's like, "All right, the words of doom. Pass your paper to the person next to you. We're gonna grade these." Everybody passes the paper over. I can see the kids shuffling, and like, they take them, and then it seems like, probably wasn't the case, but it seems like they pulled out, red crayons this big to mark these things. And these kids were excited to mark their their friend's tests, right? And they go down the test, she's like spelling it out, and they're marking it off if it's wrong, marking it off if it's wrong, marking it, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I know Stephen King was in this elementary school before he wrote Shawshank Redemption. I'm positive of it. The second thought that came to me was, what in the world are we doing to our kids in school to make them feel like they can't get outside the bounds? They're being conditioned and programmed to do these single file lines, these rote things, and then memorizing things to spill back on a test. Where's the creativity? Where's the imagination? Where are the mistakes is what came to my mind, because all we want kids to regurgitate to us are the right answers, to get it right, to not look foolish, to not look weird, to not look different, especially in front of your classmates who are going to be grading your paper. And I thought, man, school is really helping us understand that it's not okay to color outside the lines. It's not okay to take risks. It's not okay to look foolish. In fact, it's wrong to do any of that kind of stuff. Hollywood, mid-1970s. There's a young filmmaker. He comes into the studios of Universal Studios. He's got a great script. It's a great idea. It's a space opera with sword fights and a princess and epic battles with spaceships and all this crazy stuff that he's like, this is going to be the next big thing. And the executives at Universal Studios are kind of like, no, it's just kind of dumb. I don't think he's going to like it. Why don't you get it? They basically kick him out of the office and say, get out of here. And instead, they choose to produce a film called The Sorcerer, or Sorcerer, around this time. And The Sorcerer goes on to spend about $22 million. They actually had to partner with Paramount Studios to produce this film. Spent $22 million, and they only grossed about 12 minutes. They had a net loss of $10 million on this film they decided to produce. And then in the meantime, this young producer goes over to 20th Century Fox, says, would you guys like this movie to produce this? In fact, they do. It schedules and comes out in the summer of 1977, and Star Wars becomes one of the top grossing films of all time. In fact, to date, the franchise is worth $27 billion, billion with a B. Walt Disney just bought it for like $4 billion, right? So this grossed $27 billion from that time until now. Disney just bought it. It's a great franchise, probably one of the most popular movie franchises of all time. Here's what I want you to notice. Universal Studios. They said, look, we don't want to make this movie, George Lucas. Go somewhere else. We're going to make this other movie instead. And in fact, they did make that movie. They made The Sorcerer. They made it actually lost them $10 million. 20th Century Fox took Star Wars and made $27 billion on it. There were two mistakes that Universal made. I want you to pay attention to this. This is the point. There were two mistakes that Universal made. The first was passing on Star Wars. They said, we don't want to produce Star Wars. We're going to push it off. Another studio can produce it. The second mistake was producing that movie, The Sorcerer, that lost them $10 million. However, if you went back into the 1977 records, the accounting records at Universal Studios, and you opened up the accounting books, there would be no mention in the accounting books of passing on Star Wars. However, there would be a line item there showing that they lost $10 million on The Sorcerer. Which leads me to think this, and the great systems thinker, business thinker, Russell Ackoff has this idea, this notion of sins and mistakes of omission versus sins and mistakes of commission. Meaning that the mistakes we make by not taking opportunities are way more costly than the mistakes we make by committing something. So for Universal Studios to sit there, as far as the accountants know and the stockholders know, no one's going to say, oh, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired because you passed on Star Wars, but they might fire people because of the action they did take. So it's very important to think in life, as we as inbound marketers, right? We're all thought leaders in this realm. We're people who are on the cutting edge. In 2006, 2007, during Twitter and Facebook kind of just on the edge when it was like foolish and weird to be a part of that, we were the ones who were like, you know what, I'm going to try this new technology. I'm going to try this out. Even though people say it's weird and crazy and all that, I'm going to try this out. It's more impactful, it's more detrimental to you if you commit a sin of omission than commission. Universal Studios is a great example of this. The things they did do hurt them, or the things they didn't do hurt them more than the things they did do. And the lesson is, in business, in my son's school, is that it's not okay to take risks. Pull back, be safe, play it safe, right? It's not okay to make mistakes. It's not okay to look foolish and act foolish. But the world doesn't need more people that don't take big, bold action. The world doesn't need more people that don't take big, bold action. The world needs people who are willing to risk things, to take it to the edge, to take a risk on looking foolish, on being different, on being something that everybody's going to say, oh, that's crazy, that's stupid, that's silly, that won't work. Because those are the people, yeah, they mess up, but that's the whole point. You fail fast, you learn from it. If you get the answer right, you're never going to learn anything. So my urge to you is, what is it? And we're all marketing people, we're all business people, but that's kind of like our day jobs, right? There are challenges in the world, big challenges. Charity Water's here, they're tackling a big challenge in the world. There's poverty, there's war, there's political disagreements. There are big things happening in the world, globally, in our country, in your neighborhood. And you have the potential to make a really, really big impact. And you have something that most people don't. You have the experience, the know-how, and the ability to communicate well in the modern world, because communication's changing, evolving rapidly, and you're willing to take the risk to adopt that, and you can make a big difference. So what is it? What is the thing that affects your mind, your heart, and your soul that you want to focus your attention on and not make a sin of omission, not make a mistake of omission, but risk looking foolish, risk messing up, risk something, and make a big impact? There's a great question. I want to close with this. There's a great question in our business Personality Hacker that we ask people when we're talking with them that really focuses this very clearly. It's this, and I really urge you to spend some time, maybe later today or when you get home or on the flight back, spend some time thinking about this question. If you were given a microphone for 10 minutes and the entire world had to stop and listen to you for that 10 minutes, what would you say? What's in your heart, in your mind, in your soul? What is it that matters to you? What would you spend that 10 minutes talking about? And you guys, think about it. Everybody in this room has a microphone in some sense. We have new media at our disposal. We've got communication tools unparalleled. We just heard a talk about how people in other countries are neglecting plumbing and basic necessities to live their life conveniently so they can have a digital communication to reach out to the rest of the world. And the people in here are leading the cutting edge of that. What is it? If you had 10 minutes to spend, a microphone, everybody to hear you, what would you say? What's your message? My name is Joel Mark Witt. I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. Have a great day.